So I'm Hunter Smith with new Beverage Partners for the highly capitalized network here with Jay Czarkowski. Good afternoon, Jay.
Hello, Hunter. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for joining us. I'd love to hear a little bit more, if you're willing to share, about your journey in the cannabis industry and how you got here.
Sure. It's I'll try to be brief. It
Okay.
is a long story sometimes because we got into cannabis back in 2009. A
Okay.
little over 15 years ago, we opened one of Colorado's first dispensaries and then began to build one after another a number of cultivation facilities. At the height of our operation in Colorado, we had four big grows running. We were ahead of our time, but we were developing real estate back then. 2008 hit, the market collapsed. We had a little building downtown Boulder where our office was. We put it up for sublease and were approached by multiple groups, all offering to pay multiple months of rent upfront with cash. And again, this is the summer of 2009. And then, of course, found out what they wanted to do, looked into it, ended up keeping the building, took their idea, and here we are 15 and a half years later.
Wow.
So we started 15 years ago with dispensaries, cultivation facilities, but it was the Wild West, and I'm kind of a cowboy, so I fit right in. A bunch of grows going, no licenses back then, no regulation. By 2012, we were getting visits by the DEA, by the state, and look, my wife and I were just regular folks. We had a couple of kids, a few kids at the time. Like, let's get out of this. Sold the dispensary, sold the grows, pennies on the dollar, of course, back then. I think we were lucky to put a couple $100,000 in our pockets to move on back then. But it was another accident where we started CannaAdvisors in 2012. There was a group of guys in Connecticut that wanted one of the Connecticut licenses. The state was going to issue four back then. Fell in with them, started paying us some cash as consultants, of all things. Imagine that. And then there was an equity piece should they win. Well, we won that license, sold the operation to GTI, 4, 5, 6 years later. Also on 3 of the original 20 verticals in Massachusetts. So that started a long chain of events where we scaled a team. We learned how to win licenses at scale. At the height of our operation, CannaAdvisors had probably 25 employees, won hundreds of competitive licenses and really kept the same model the whole time. Cash up front for the work, a little bit of equity as a success fee. We continue that operation into today. But, over the years, as we did well, we started a recruiting company, H2 Talent, formed a private equity company called Trailhead. We have an M&A firm that we call Bonfire. All those businesses are running, but of course, the market is tough right now. I don't think we've made a new investment in a number of years. A lot of our M&A deals are difficult to close. So I will tell you, after 15 years in the industry, I can never be done with the industry because I have some little ownership interest and investments, but I'm finally not building anything new in cannabis. I'm probably going to get back to my roots, my passion, real estate development and construction. Just starting that journey again right now. Very excited about it. But I can't ever see myself being done with cannabis just because of the footprint that I have.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, speaking of the sort of competitive state of the industry, can you share your thoughts on the hemp THC market and sort of, you've been around long enough to see a couple of things come and go. You think this is, a lasting segment of the market? And I'd just love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it would sound reasonable. Look, I'm certainly no expert in that field, but when I started consuming cannabis-based beverages, it was probably 2010, 2011. It were two friends of mine that owned two early companies, Dixie Elixirs and Eve Cola. Mm-hmm. I'm not. Yeah, I think both of those drinks are still around today, but I do remember, in a short period of time, those beverages were able to, achieve some semblance of, consistency, I guess. It would seem that, logically, hemp-based beverages, right, have a greater opportunity to expand and grow and cross state lines just because the regulatory environment is different. But I do understand from some of my friends in the liquor industry that alcohol consumption across younger generations is going down, and perhaps hemp-based and cannabis-based beverage consumption is going up. I understand psilocybin usage is going up. But I could think of a number of brands right now where I have friends involved that are more on the hemp-based side that seem very excited about what they're working on.
That's great. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of opportunity for growth, potentially in a way that maybe in the dispensary model was challenging for some of those early pioneers, like you mentioned, in the cannabis drinks space. But now with the Farm Bill, that, when they've got access to places like Total Wine and other grocers that are growing and growing, that have a longer tail of returns given the market size versus sort of dispensary only.
And Hunter, are you more on the hemp-based beverage side, or the over-regulated cannabis beverage side?
We're working in the hemp beverage space, particularly for those sort of interstate and e-commerce reasons you mentioned. My experience historically is in the beer and wine business, beer in particular. And so I've been in charge of, anywhere from 5 to 15 states of wholesale distribution for beer in the past. And so understand some of the vagaries of the marketplace and what it is that those distributor partners are both looking for and the challenges that they have. And so that's the goal of, part of the goal of New Beverage Partners, the incubator, is to try and help provide those distributors with brands that have that kind of, thinking and development put into them versus, something that may be just popping up one brand at a time. So trying to leverage our collective strengths and also some of my experience in the beer business, since that's, a considerably more mature market than what's happening in hemp beverages. And it seems like some of the regulatory powers that I'm familiar with may be getting involved in regulating the hemp beverage space. And so hopefully that experience might be valuable to some people.
Yeah, well, it must be an exciting time in hemp-based beverages. I have a very old friend when I was in my early 20s. He's been an executive with Tito's for a number of years. And you just read on his LinkedIn profile that he just accepted a high-level business development position with a hemp-based beverage. So,
wow,
must be a lot going on.
That's exciting. But yeah, certainly someone with that caliber of experience. It does sort of tie with what I was saying, just where it seems like folks that are going to have the most experience with the existing regulated beverage channels are going to have a lot of experience to bring to the table. And that's great to hear, frankly, because the category is going to need it, right? Like it's fun to do the Wild West thing and be cowboys, but it's so sustainable for so long, right? So I think, as additional regulation is probably inevitable, it'll be good to have some folks with some experience in that regulation so that we don't, we're not just swashbuckling with the regulators too much and can actually, grow the sector and be productive. Because I think done right, there's a pretty big opportunity in the category. Obviously, as folks are looking for alternatives to alcohol, that's certainly been my own journey. I stopped drinking about 3 years ago and started using cannabis, and have seen a remarkable improvement in my daily life. And I think that just more and more people are starting to see the light in that department, both with some of the potential coming scrutiny on alcohol labels, having to have cancer warnings, things like that. Things as an alcohol producer I never would have anticipated and certainly wouldn't really enjoy going through. So I think some of the opportunities in front of hemp beverage companies are pretty real, but we'll all have to be pretty smart and diligent as it goes from cottage industry into, holy cow, now we're in real deal CPG world with chain grocers and all that. So it's kind of like, if we're lucky enough to be successful enough to get to those, channels in the market, then we'll need folks like your friend, and maybe some more junior members like myself that have some experience in the channel.
An exciting time, it sounds like.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Do you see anything in your future when it comes to the hemp THC department or hemp beverages? Is that something that gets your eyeballs as someone who's been in the cannabis industry in a long time, or you kind of want to see how it develops, or what's your thinking there?
Yeah, for me, it's more of a I guess a personal and a nostalgic. Want to see how it goes. I have some, folks that used to work for me years ago that have launched a hemp-based beverage. I have some folks that were long-term clients of CannaAdvisors that we have helped win multiple highly competitive licenses in a number of states. They're getting into hemp-based beverages now. Of course, my friend that I mentioned, that's now with a hemp-based brand. But for me personally, after 15 years in cannabis, always going to honor the time that I've spent. But I'm going to keep my finger on the pulse, and of course, do my best to keep an eye on and manage and help in any way possible our holdings and interests within the industry. But as far as anything new, I think I'm moving on.
Understood. Understood. Well, where can people find out more about you or Think Canna? Is there a good place to direct them on the internet?
Sure. ThinkCanna.com is a great place to learn about CannaAdvisors. Shockingly, there are still so many, places that don't really have a robust industry yet. That a lot of places left to grow. And the long or the short of CannaAdvisors is, really the crux of what we've done over the years are securing these competitive licenses. Even now, we're working in Minnesota, the Virgin Islands, hopefully soon to be Nebraska and the Carolinas. So I'm sure there's some runway. I've had an executive team running CannaAdvisors for a number of years, and they're not going anywhere. And hopefully we'll continue to run that company to the highest degree of professionalism as history tells.
That's awesome. That's very exciting. Well, Jay, thank you so much for taking the time to join me here on New Beverage Partners for Highly Capitalized. It's been great to hear some of your experience and just get some insight from someone who's been part of the industry for as long as you have.
Thank you. It's been good to be a part of it. And best of luck to you and your endeavors.
Awesome. Thank you so much.